As soon as Chris stepped out of the airport, he was immediately surrounded by cab drivers offering their services. He hated taking cabs. With difficulty, Chris refused their intrusive offers and headed for the bus stop, dreaming of a quiet ride to his favorite hotel. It was a city he visited monthly for work. The smiling receptionist kindly handed Chris the keys to the room he had booked in advance. When Chris got to his floor, he witnessed a heartbreaking scene. The housekeeping manager was comforting an elderly maid. "Mrs. Carolyn, calm down. Don't pay any attention to that rude man. You've been working here for so many years and you've seen all kinds of people. You can't get used to the fact that people are different. How can I calm down? For no one has ever called me that before," replied Carolyn with eyes full of tears. Chris had known this maid for a long time. She reminded him of his mother. They had become good acquaintances since their first visits to the hotel. Careful, courteous, and kind to everyone, she kept the rooms in perfect order. Some time ago, they discovered that they came from the same town. About 20 years ago, Mrs. Carolyn had left her hometown by fate. This was the first time he had seen the housekeeping manager. "What's wrong, Mrs. Carolina?" Chris asked without greeting. "Chris is here." She smiled at him through her tears and sobbed again. "A customer has moved in," the young housekeeping manager answered for her, patting her employee on the shoulder. One of the new rich guys, acting like an ill-mannered prince. Everything is wrong with him. Ordered dinner from the restaurant to his room, didn't open the waiter, told him to leave the food cart by the door. While it was there, someone cleaned out a plate of meat. He couldn't think of anything better to blame Mrs. Carolyn. No one believes it, of course, but he did file a complaint. Bastard. Her blue eyes flashed with cold fire. Hearing this, Mrs. Carolyn cried again. "Don't worry," Chris tried to reassure her, too. "Who's gonna believe that crap? Everyone here knows you. I left a review in the book last time I was here, and it was nothing but praise for Mrs. Carolyn. And there's always been and always will be evil people. Thank you, Chris, for your kind words, Mrs. Carolyn finally calmed down. "Come on, I'll show you to your room. I've just wet cleaned the window to air it out. Will you be staying long?" "I'll just spend the night. I'll take a day to take care of things, and then I'll be back. Tickets already in my pocket." The room was small but cozy and clean as always. Chris felt right at home. Unpacking, he pulled out a bag of food his mother had carefully packed. "Ah, Mom. For a long time people have traveled without camping supplies, but for her it was unthinkable to send her son on a business trip without home-cooked food. What if there is a delay? What if there is nowhere to eat?" Mom said, to refuse my mom would be to hurt her. He had to bring fried chicken and sandwiches with him. "Well, I'll have a home-cooked dinner. I won't throw it away," Chris decided and set the table. The room had cutlery, crockery, and a kettle. The chicken was spreading a delightful aroma. As he sucked on a bone, he noticed movement on his right foot. With a slanted glance, he saw the gangly face of a Siamese cat peeking out from under the bed. Probably the smell of meat had attracted him. Chris beckoned to the cat with a piece of chicken, and it readily left its hiding place and crouched in front of him. The cat was probably lurking somewhere nearby, but the scent of meat attracted him. Chris beckoned it with a piece of chicken, and it came out of its hiding place and sat down in front of him. There were crumbs of fried meat stuck on the cat's snow-white chest, which added a little careless charm. "What am I going to do with you now, buddy?" Chris mumbled thoughtfully, looking at the cat, who was sprawled out on the floor after a hearty meal. The two of them had no trouble with the chicken, the cat grinding the bones with such a crunch that Chris feared for the integrity of his teeth. "I'll turn you over to the authorities. Then you'll know how to steal other people's food. Because of you, an innocent man is being accused. Even though it's a bad man, it doesn't make Mrs. Carolyn feel any better." The cat lazily opened one eye, stared at Chris as if assessing the scale of the threat, and rolled over onto his other side. What a snout! Chris was surprised at the cat's shrewdness. He wasn't going to give him up, of course, but how could the cat realize that? "Well, go back to sleep, and I'll go find out what's going on." Chris made his way to the housekeeper named Samantha. Thinking over every word, he told her about the furry guest's visit. He knew from her reaction that the cat was in no danger and asked her to invite Mrs. Carolyn to his room when she was free. I didn't have to wait long. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Chris opened it, and Mrs. Carolyn entered the room. "Well done for finding the thief," she said solemnly. "Where is that cat? I'm going to give him a beating." The cat was nowhere to be seen. The maid looked at him suspiciously, wondering if he was joking. Was he joking? It was Mrs. Carolyn. I promise you, it was. "Well, I didn't see a ghost, did I?" "Mrs. Carolyn, I'm sorry. I don't know where he's gone. Let's have some tea." Mrs. Carolyn accepted the invitation to tea and, forgetting the misunderstanding, began to ask Chris about her native places. She listened with interest to his stories about city news and acquaintances, hoping to find mutual friends. As she sipped her tea, she talked about her youth in their common hometown. Suddenly, she stopped talking and rounded her eyes. Then she looked down slowly, and her face lit up with sweetness. "Is that you? Oh, handsome. Where did you come from?" She picked up the weighty cat and sat him on her lap. The gangly expression on his face was gone. Mrs. Carolyn was now looking at a cute, mustachioed face with eyes squinting with pleasure. To reinforce the favorable impression, the cat purred loudly and tried to touch her cheek with his nose. What a knave! Chris marveled. A ladies' man, though, fell in love with Mrs. Carolyn at first sight. That heartbreaker won't go to waste. "Chris," said Mrs. Carolyn's soft voice, "you don't have time to deal with him. Tomorrow you'll be running to work, then home. And what's he going to do here alone?" "I'm off duty in 2 hours, so I take this brigand away. Or he'll get into trouble, or someone will hurt such a cute little thing." All right, Mrs. Carolina. Let her stay in my room for the rest of your shift, or she be in trouble again if she catches anyone's eye." Chris was returning from the smoking room when he heard loud voices outside one of the ajar doors. As he passed by, he noticed several pairs of men's shoes in the room. Without listening to the conversation, he went to his room. As soon as Chris opened the door to his room, the cat slipped out into the hallway and headed toward the room where the loud voices were coming from. Before Chris knew it, the cat was crawling through the ajar door. A couple minutes later, he slipped back out as if nothing had happened. The cat walked elegantly across the carpeted walkway, returning to Chris. "What did you do again?" Chris asked in a whisper, looking at the cat's innocent face. The cat squinted puzzledly, pretending not to understand. At that moment, Mrs. Carolyn entered the room with an animal carrier. Her face shone with joy. "Get in here, my good man. Let's go to my house. We'll have more fun together." Without a second's hesitation, the cat climbed into the carrier and, before Mrs. Carolyn closed the door, winked goodbye to Chris. The next morning, handing the keys to the receptionist, Chris noticed a distinguished man in an elegant suit. He seemed to have left the hotel earlier than planned and was now dealing with the receptionist. His face was slightly puffy, as if he'd just woken up, and there was a huge purple bruise on his cheek, peeking out from under the frames of his sunglasses. Chris went about his business, and the man with the bruise walked out onto the hotel porch, waiting for a cab and saying something to himself. "It's called signing contracts," he muttered. "I don't want to be in this town anymore. I'm glad I only got away with a bruise." He touched the bruise gently. "Yes, I did respect the guests. I'd like to know which asshole ruined my guest's shoes." Chris went to a business meeting, which went well, and returned to the hotel in the evening to pack his things and go home. As he was leaving the hotel, Mrs. Carolyn approached him with a small package. "This is for you, Chris," she said with a smile. "Some homemade cookies for the road." "Thank you, Mrs. Carolina," he replied, accepting the gift. "You're so thoughtful. I wanted to tell you something important." "Oh, Chris, is something wrong?" she asked warily. "Today I heard your visitor, the one who accused you of stealing meat, complaining that he was going to sign favorable contracts, but someone ruined his guest's shoes." "I think it was our cat getting revenge for you," Chris explained. "Really?" Mrs. Carolyn laughed. "This cat seems to be able to sense who are friends and who are enemies. How clever he is." "Yes, he does seem to know how to stand up for his own," Chris smiled. "I thought you might be interested to hear about it." "Thank you, Chris. You have no idea how much that lifted my spirits," said Mrs. Carolyn. "That cat is a real hero. I'm very glad he's living with me now." "Glad I could cheer you up," Chris replied. "See you next time." "See you next time, Chris," Mrs. Carolyn replied.